So week 6 of the college football season was absolute madness. I don't know what the AP poll is going to do. I don't care what the AP poll is going to do. We're all doing our best to pick up the pieces from what just happened yesterday. We're going to give you our college football playoff picture rankings as it pertains to what we've seen so far. So these are not predictions. These are not projections. These are current rankings, in our humble opinion, of where things stand right now when it comes to the college football playoff. Now, I will say this. When it comes to these rankings, we put our 12th team as our G5 rep, okay? So that does not mean we think that this team is the 12th best team in college football, but it does mean that we think if you were to take stock right now of the college football playoff picture, this would be the G5 team at 12. Also, you will notice there is no Big 12 team in our top 12. Obviously, when it comes to the college football playoff, the Big 12 will have an automatic bid and a bye. This ranking system for us is meant to put the top teams in college football in order. And right now, I don't think there's a Big 12 team that you'd put within the top 12. No shade to the Big 12, just how I feel about it. However, I will say BYU right now for us is the leader in the clubhouse for the Big 12. Impressive, definitive win over Kansas State. So BYU would be the team from the Big 12 that we think would make the college football playoff should the season end today and the college football playoff start tomorrow. Let's get right to it, man. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate y'all being dialed in. College football, nothing but college football on this very show, The Hard Count, on this platform, the On3 YouTube channel. We appreciate you college football sickos being dialed in year-round. The best way to be dialed in, making sure you're subscribed. So, at number 12, our G5 rep, we got Boise State. Beat the brakes off Utah State. Ashton Jeanty having a Heisman campaign. Will it take a lot for him to win the Heisman? You better believe it. But with him averaging 14 yards a carry yesterday, averaging 10 yards a carry on the season, he's a creative player. Boise State, with UNLV losing to Syracuse, and Boise State having the quote-unquote best loss in G5 country to a ranked Oregon team that's only going to shoot up the rankings after the chaos yesterday. Boise State, right now, the G5 rep for the college football playoff picture rankings. At number 11, this is where we'll get pushback. This is where it'll be chaotic. We welcome it. Bring it on. Texas A&M for us is at number 11. And their only loss is to a top 10 team in Notre Dame who keeps on winning. And they just 30-pieced a top 10 team at home against Missouri. So say what you want about Missouri. We were never really that crazy about the Tigers either, but the facts are the facts. That's a top 10 team. Came to College Station. Got blasted. I don't think it matters as much who you have at quarterback right now. They look great with Connor Wegman, but I'm telling you, if you run the football that way and look that way on the defensive line, you're going to be in good shape. So A&M right now, I think you have to factor them into that college football playoff discussion, especially with what they have left. They're going to be right there. They're going to be right there in the mix, and I think they made a statement yesterday. Right now, we have them at 11 after all the chaos across the college football landscape. Now, speaking of chaos, Tennessee was a casualty yesterday, falling to Arkansas. I still have them in my top 10. I think that their top 15 road win over Oklahoma should count for something. When they played NC State, they were technically ranked. That should count for something. The defense is still one of the best in college football. Saw nothing yesterday to discredit that. The offense is still a work in progress, but I think once that gets humming, they're going to be very tough to stop. Obviously, the Georgia and Alabama game becomes more intense than it already was. You have to split those two to feel good about your chances to make the college football playoff. But Tennessee right now, again, with all of the debris and all of the madness that happened yesterday, I still think they're a top 10 team in the sport. Now at number 9, I got Clemson. And they lost to Georgia week 1, and Georgia is Georgia. But like Clemson, all they've done since then is reel off win after win after win. If they win the ACC, obviously, they'll be in the college football playoff with a bye. Y'all, if Clemson wins out and then loses in the ACC title game, I still think they're a team that deserves to be in the college football playoff. The offense is explosive. The defense is still Clemson brand. I like the Tigers. I think they're a top 10 team in the sport as of right now. At number 8, I'm not ready to sell my Ole Miss stock just yet, y'all. I'm not ready to do it. Lost to Kentucky, close. I get it. I still think that Ole Miss, from a roster talent perspective, is one of the best teams in the sport. I think that the transfer portal pieces they took will continue to gel, and that roster will solidify to be one of the better teams in the sport. I'm not super worried about the Kentucky loss. The way they bounced back against South Carolina showed me something. I think they're, a top 10 football team. And I'll say this too. Would they be this high if there wasn't the chaos that happened yesterday across college football? Probably not, but The sport is what it is, and Ole Miss will have every chance to ultimately make the dance. I think 10-2 Ole Miss still gets you in the college football playoff. 11-1 definitely does that. Georgia, I got them at 7. And I'm not so sure they're not still one of the best teams in the sport. The second half of the Alabama game, I think probably left that impression on a lot of folks. They're going to go as Carson Beck goes. The defense is still a Georgia defense. Some things against Auburn made you tilt your head a little bit and say, need to get that corrected. But we say this every year with Kirby Smart, man. His teams will play their best football when it's time to play their best football in November and December. I think they're at their best when Carson Beck is pushing the ball downfield, opens up the run game. It allows your best player in Carson Beck to ultimately have the most impact on the game as possible. I'm excited to see how they trend. But again, Georgia for me at number 7 in this week's playoff picture rankings after yesterday's madness. Now at number 6, I got Miami. Has it been pretty? No, has not been pretty. Are they still unbeaten? You better believe it. It took every ounce of their willpower last night to beat Cal in the wee hours of the morning, but Cam Ward, man, as long as he's playing quarterback for you, you got a chance. You'd love to see them put 2 good halves of football together, but it is what it is. Miami's still undefeated, and it's tough to argue with the 0 in the loss column for them right now. At number 5, I got Penn State, man. Same deal. Still undefeated. Ranked win over Illinois. The game against USC loses a little bit of juice with them losing against Minnesota. But Penn State, man, all they've done so far is just check box after box after box. Penn State, for me, top 5 team in college football. At number 4, I still got Bama. Still Bama hanging around. Did they lose to Vandy? Yes. Never a good look to lose to Vandy. But, I think, Vanderbilt's a better team than most people want to give credit for. Can't really say that too loudly, otherwise people laugh at you, but it is what it is. They still have the best win in college football with what they did to Georgia, okay? So did you let down against Vandy? Yeah, horrible look. When they're on, are they still the best team in the sport? They have the discussion. They have the argument, all right? Jalen Milroe, when he's on, he's impossible to stop with Ryan Williams. That defense flying around, some things to correct for sure, but I'm very much so holding on to my Alabama stock, and I think they'll be right there in it at the end of this thing. Oregon, who would have thought, man? If I told you Oregon would be a top 3 team in college football after the Boise State game, after the Idaho game, you say, really? You sure? The Ducks, that Oregon team that couldn't protect Dylan Gabriel? Well, since that rough 2-game stretch, they've allowed 0 sacks. Dylan Gabriel has, I think, progressed in this offense. Now, didn't look phenomenal early on against Michigan State. Kind of caught his tempo, and they played better football. A big one against Ohio State this week. But, it's starting to look more like the Oregon team that we all expected them to be at the beginning of this college football season. But they're unbeaten. Hard to argue with it. The Ducks at number 3 for me. Ohio State at 2. You can make a case for them being number 1. And I would listen. Decisive, definitive win over Iowa yesterday. They're versatile. They can beat you if you want to play a game to 40. They can beat you in a rock fight. That defense is playing sideline to sideline with no seatbelt. Will Howard, it will come down to him. Can he be the guy to win you football games starting this upcoming weekend in Autzen against Oregon? I think that'll be the difference, but it's an embarrassment of riches from a roster standpoint. Ohio State for me at number 2. At number 1, a team that didn't even play this week, that's Texas, man. Just sat back, watched the carnage. They have the second best win in college football when they got it at Michigan in a just belt to behind kind of fashion. Quinn Ewers getting back in the lineup. Cannot wait to see what they do in this 2-game stretch against Oklahoma. And then Georgia comes to town. So it's about to get real for Texas. They're number 1 this week. If they stay at number 1, they will have earned it. All right? So BYU would be our Big 12 rep if the college football playoff started tomorrow. Our G5 rep at 12 is Boise State. At 11, push back if you want to. A&M just 30-piece, a top 10 team. Tennessee, technically, for us at least, still 2 ranked wins. I have them at 10. So Tennessee at 10, Clemson at 9, Ole Miss at 8, Georgia at 7. I'm going to go ahead and put Miami at 6, Penn State at 5. Bama, count out Bama if you want to. I got them at 4, Oregon at 3, Ohio State at 2. Real conversation for them to be at 1 if they beat Oregon. But at number 1 this week, we got Texas, who just sat back and watched the chaos unfold. Get at me on Instagram. Get at me on Twitter, at JD Piquel. Let me know how you would put your playoff picture rankings, not predictions, rankings, together after the just chaos that was week 6 of the college football season. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all, man. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.